We love full-time travel. We chose this life. We're grateful for it every single day. But it's not always sunsets and scenic train rides. Sometimes it's stress, guilt, exhaustion, logistics, and missing people you love more than you expected.
After 6 years of doing this full-time, we've learned that this lifestyle is incredible, but it comes with some very real trade-offs. So today, we're pulling back the curtain and sharing the 10 ugly truths of full-time travel. It's the stuff nobody really warns you about. So let's go.
We're John and Beth, and we are the Retirement Travelers. If you're just finding us, we are an American senior travel couple who are on the adventure of our lives. So hit subscribe and follow along on our little travel log. We are a few weeks ahead of our videos, so if you're wondering where we are in the world, we keep our Instagram updated to our current location, so follow us there.
Let's start with the one people are often surprised by, the cost. Now, there's this idea out there that full-time travel automatically means living cheaper than you did at home. And yes, sometimes that can be true in certain places, but overall, travel has a sneaky way of nickel and diming you in 100 different directions.
Flights alone can wreck a budget. Even when you're deal hunters like we are, moving from country to country adds up fast. And it's not just the ticket, it's baggage fees, seat selection, airport transfers, and sometimes a more expensive hotel near the airport because you have an early morning flight the next day. Now, you thought it was a bargain, but it wasn't. One travel day can add up, and those costs can't be avoided.
But the real budget busters aren't the things you can't plan for. Replacing worn out shoes because you walk everywhere. We go through at least 3 pairs of Hokas a year each. That's about $1,000 worth of shoes for us per year. Add in extras like travel insurance, doctor visits abroad that don't take your insurance, last-minute transportation changes. The unexpected can add up.
None of this means full-time travel isn't worth it. But it does mean it's not the endless budget paradise that people imagine. You're not just paying to live, you're paying to move your life over and over again. And here's another part that people don't always factor in, where the bucket list places actually are.
Yes, there are wonderful parts of the world where your dollar stretches far. Southeast Asia, parts of Central and South America, Eastern Europe. You can absolutely travel more affordably in those regions. But at some point, most full-time travelers start eyeing those iconic once-in-a-lifetime places.
The fjords of Norway, a road trip through New Zealand, Switzerland's mountain villages, and Iceland's waterfalls, an African safari. These are the places that end up on vision boards and travel documentaries for a reason, and they are not always budget destinations.
In many of those countries, everything costs more. Lodging, food, transportation, attractions, even groceries. A simple dinner out can feel like a special occasion splurge. Rental cars, fuel, ferry, scenic trains, the kinds of experiences that make those places unforgettable come with price tags to match.
So even if you balance your year with lower cost regions, those dream destinations can tilt your overall travel budget way higher than you expected. Full-time travel isn't just about where you can go cheaply. It's also about the reality that some of the most breathtaking places on Earth are also some of the most expensive countries on Earth.
One thing people don't talk about enough is how often you're simply uncomfortable. Not in a dramatic emergency kind of way, just in a very human, worn down kind of way.
You're tired because you had an early train. You're hungry because that lunch just didn't happen when you thought it would. You're hot or you're freezing, or you've been walking for miles because the bus stop was just around the corner and somehow it never appeared. You're overstimulated, under-caffeinated, and your phone battery is down to 3% while you were trying to figure out where that apartment actually is.
That happens to us all the time.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you still have to be a good travel partner. That part doesn't make it into the highlight reels. When you're both exhausted, both hungry, both confused, and neither of you speaks the language very well, patience can get thin. Little things feel bigger than they should. Tone matters more. Grace matters more. Some days being kind to each other takes real effort.
At home, you can have a bad day and retreat to your own corner. On the road, you're in it together, navigating the stress, the discomfort, and the constant change side by side. It can deepen your relationship, absolutely, but in the moment, it can also be really, really hard.
For us, we get along really well and we have a strong marriage, but we also work hard at it. It takes commitment, it takes choosing each other, and it means putting the other person's needs ahead of your own sometimes.
There are days when I get my way and days when Bev gets hers, but this journey started with love and it's going to end with love. We're in this together for the long haul.
Now, we don't agree every minute of every day, especially when we're tired, hungry, and trying to figure out a train station in a language we don't understand. But I wouldn't want to do this life with anyone else. I love John more now than I did when we started, and that's saying something.
And I love you too.
I love you. One of the hardest parts of full-time travel isn't the flights or the packing, it's the quiet loss of everyday community.
When you live in one place, you don't even realize how many little connections hold your life together. Your church, your regular lunch group, neighbors you wave to, the same grocery clerk who recognizes you, the rhythms of seeing the same people over and over again.
Now, on the road, you meet wonderful people, truly. Other travelers, kind hosts, friendly locals. But most of those connections are temporary. You share a few days, maybe a week, and then everyone moves on. There's rarely time for roots to grow.
You also miss the standing invitations that make life feel full. Those Sunday gatherings, casual coffee meetups, birthdays, family reunions. When you're full-time travelers, you're often the ones missing from the group photo.
One of the ugliest truths of full-time travel isn't about money or logistics. It's emotional. There can be a quiet guilt that follows you around. When John's mom was placed on hospice a couple of years ago, we canceled an entire season of travel so that we could be home for an extended stretch. We truly believed we were saying goodbye. But Pearl being Pearl, she fought through it and ended up living a couple of more years. We were so grateful for that extra time.
Even though we came home often after that, and she had wonderful around-the-clock care in her assisted living community, there was still guilt about being far away. You always wonder if you should be there more, if you're missing something, if you're leaving too much of the day-to-day responsibility to someone else.
In our case, John's sister carried the majority of that burden, and we've always known it. We tried to thank her, support her, and show up in every way we could from a distance. But no matter what we did, it never felt equal to what she was being asked to give, and that's a hard thing to sit with.
Our kids and our moms live in 6 different states. Even if we had a house, we still couldn't be everywhere at once. But that doesn't stop the feeling when someone needs help and you're a plane ride away.
I recently took my own mom to an eye doctor appointment while we were home, and I remember thinking, I wish I could do this more often. Those small, ordinary moments of showing up matter. And when you travel full time, you just don't get many of them.
We've had to learn that guilt doesn't mean that we made the wrong choice. It just means that we love our people deeply. This life gives us extraordinary experiences, but it also asks us to accept that we can't physically be present for everything, and that's one of the hardest trade-offs of all. One thing that we didn't fully understand before traveling full-time is how much time zones complicate relationships.
You think, I'll call mom today, and then you do the math and you realize she's asleep. So you tell yourself you'll call later, but later you're on a train or you're out exploring or it's suddenly midnight your time and the good window has passed. Days can slip by like that without even meaning to.
It's not that you don't want to stay connected, it's that staying connected suddenly requires planning instead of just habit. Back home, you'd call while driving, folding laundry, or just sitting on the couch. On the road, you're juggling time differences, Wi-Fi strength, data limits, and schedules that don't line up.
Time zones also make stressful situations harder. If a bank flags your card, a flight gets canceled, or a booking goes wrong, customer service might only be open during business hours back home. So you're calling at 2 a.m. from a hotel hallway trying to keep your voice down while also trying to fix a problem that would have taken 10 minutes if you were in the same time zone.
And then there are the cultural moments that you don't want to miss, like a national championship or a Super Bowl. Suddenly, you're setting alarm for 3 a.m., trying to stream the game on hotel Wi-Fi, only to discover that your streaming service doesn't work in that country. Now, you're Googling workarounds in the middle of the night, half asleep, just hoping to see the fourth quarter.
You don't realize how easy connection used to be until it isn't. And while technology helps a lot, it doesn't erase the reality that when your life runs on a different clock than the people you love, staying close takes more effort than you ever expected.
One of the biggest misconceptions about full-time travel is that you somehow escape regular life responsibilities. You don't.
You're still dealing with taxes, insurance, bank accounts, renewing driver's license, figuring out how to vote, keeping track of deadlines that don't care what country you're in.
If you still have a home, that's a whole other layer. Property taxes, maintenance issues, repairs, insurance, utilities, or even renters. Even if you don't have a house, you probably still have some kind of life admin trail that's still behind you.
Now, mail becomes a puzzle. You need a mail service, someone to scan things for you, or a trusted person who can handle the important stuff. And every time you get a message from the IRS, you think, what now? And your brain goes to the worst case scenario.
Then there's the financial side. Credit cards get flagged for fraud when you use them in different countries. Sometimes they get shut off right when you're trying to check into a hotel. Replacing a stolen or compromised card while overseas, that can be an issue. That's an adventure that you never want. As full-time travelers, we've had to suddenly figure out international shipping, how to transfer money, and how to pay for things while your accounts are locked down.
Now, none of this stops just because you're standing in front of a beautiful cathedral or riding a scenic train. Real life runs in the background of the entire time you're on the road. Emails, forms, renewals, passwords, and phone calls to customer service at odd hours. Full-time travel doesn't remove responsibility. It just makes handling it more complicated.
Another ugly truth of full-time travel is how difficult it can be to eat well. When you're at home, you have routines, your favorite grocery store, your go-to healthy meals, but on the road, all of that disappears. You're constantly figuring out what's available, what can you recognize on a menu, and what do you have the energy to prepare in a tiny kitchen, even if you have one.
Now, most restaurants are not trying to serve balanced food. They're trying to serve food that tastes amazing. And that usually means oils, butter, sugar, and big portions. The healthier options are often the most expensive items on the menu, and sometimes they're just not available at all.
Then there's that temptation factor. You're walking past bakeries, gelato shops, street food stands, and cafes all day long. When you're hot, tired, or just need a little comfort food, it's really easy to make choices that you normally wouldn't make at home.
No, for us, our comfort food has always been pizza. If we're feeling down or dealing with a travel bug or just not able to figure out what we want, somehow pizza just ends up being the answer. And if you've followed us for long, you already know we have a very hard time saying no to ice cream when we're hot and tired. The temptations never stop. They just change countries.
That's right. Now, we've had to learn that eating well on the road takes intention, not just good intentions. It means grocery shopping when we'd rather go sightseeing, choosing the simple grilled option instead of that creamy one, drinking more water than we think we need, and giving ourselves grace, when we don't get it right.
Yeah, because the truth is, when we don't fuel our bodies well, everything else gets harder. Our energy drops, our patience shortens, and even beautiful places feel less enjoyable. Taking care of our health, or it isn't just about longevity, it's about protecting the joy of the journey while we're living it.
And if you think eating well is hard while traveling, keeping up with exercise can be just as challenging.
Walking usually isn't our problem. We clock a lot of miles just getting around cities. But intentional exercise, that takes effort. John is a runner, and he is always looking for a safe, pleasant place to run, and it isn't always simple to find. In some countries, roads are narrow, cars move fast, and sidewalks are crowded with scooters, bikes, and pedestrians. A relaxing morning run can turn into a game of dodge the traffic.
That's right. Now, we've learned to build movement into our daily lives in creative ways. The backpacks do help. They're basically weight-bearing workouts that we wear all the time. We take the stairs whenever we can. In fact, if you see us riding an escalator in a subway station when there's 200 steps available, chances are someone's injured.
Yeah, when we get the chance to hike, we're all in. That's one of the ways that we keep exercise fun instead of turning it into another chore. Because if we start dreading it, we know we won't stick to it.
But the reality is our bodies remind us that we're not 30 anymore. You know, Bev deals with allergies, I deal with muscle strains, and recovery takes longer than it used to. And when you're constantly on the move, it's harder to rest things properly. One part of full-time travel that doesn't get talked about enough is what it means for the animals you love.
For many people like us, our dogs weren't just pets. They had been part of our family for years. They'd grown up with our kids. They were woven into the everyday rhythm of our lives. By the time we started traveling full-time, both of our little dogs, Ginger and Annie, were already near the end of their lives.
When we first began as the retirement travelers, they joined us on those early road trips around the U.S. before we headed overseas. And they weren't just along for the ride, they were part of the adventure. Annie especially became quite the little traveler. In just 2 years, she visited 49 states. She logged more miles than most people ever will, and she did it with that joyful little dog spirit that made every stop feel lighter.
We lost Ginger during our first year on the road, even though we knew her time was limited. That loss hit hard while we were adjusting to a brand new lifestyle. Annie, though, was lovingly cared for by our family when our travels took us further away. Knowing she was surrounded by people who loved her gave us peace.
When the time came, we were able to be with Annie when she passed, and that meant everything to us. And even now, we still miss her deeply. We miss the routines, the companionship, and the simple joy of a dog greeting you at the door, even if the door now changes every few days.
For many seniors, pets bring comfort, purpose, and steady companionship. Full-time travel can make having that kind of a relationship very difficult. And it's a sacrifice people don't always think about when they picture their freedom of life on the road.
We've gained a world of experiences, but we still feel the absence of those little paws in our lives.
Another truth people don't talk about enough is that the joy of travel can wear off the longer you're on the road.
We've met travelers who quietly admit that they're tired of packing. They're tired of airports and just tired of figuring out everything over and over again. Places start to blur together. Beautiful views don't hit the same way. What used to feel exciting starts to feel like work.
That's something that we've tried to be really honest about in our own lives. For us, this has been a process of learning our limits and paying attention to what actually brings us joy and what doesn't. We've had to give ourselves permission to slow down, to rest, and sometimes say, you know what, that famous attraction just isn't for us.
We've learned to pace ourselves, to build in recharge time, to skip experiences that drain us and lean into the ones that really light us up. Because we want to do this for the long haul, and we never want to lose that sense of wonder that made us fall in love with travel in the first place.
Part of that means taking care of ourselves physically and mentally. Travel can be demanding, and we're very aware if we ignore our health, our sleep, and our stress levels, the joy disappears fast. We also try to keep perspective. We know how fortunate we are to live this life, and we're mindful that many people face challenges far greater than ours.
When we get tired or overwhelmed, we lean on each other. We remind ourselves why we started. We talk about the journey, the growth, and the privilege of seeing the world at this stage of our life. We try to come back to that childlike wonder where we felt on our very first big trip abroad. That curiosity, the gratitude, and the excitement. Because for us, the goal isn't just to keep traveling. The goal is to keep loving to travel.
Now, if you're interested in money-saving travel tips, watch this next.